everybody. Today I will read the book of Ray Bradbury, Farser. So let's begin. As he stood there, the sky over the house screamed. There was a tremendous ripping sound, as if two giant hands had torn 10,000 miles of black linen down the seam. Montague was cut in half. He felt his chest chopped down and split apart. The jet bombs going over, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 6 of them, 9 of them, 12 of them, one and one and one and another and another and another did all the screaming for him. He opened his own mouth and let their shriek come down and out between his bare teeth. The house shook. The flare went out in his hand. The moonstones vanished. He felt his hand plunge toward the telephone. The jets were gone. He felt his lips move, brushing the mouthpiece of the phone. Emergency hospital. A terrible whisper. He felt that the stars had been pulverized by the sound of the black jets, and that in the morning the earth would be thawed. As he stood shivering in the dark and let his lips go on moving and moving. They had this machine. They had two machines really. One of them slid down into your stomach like a black cobra down, and the echoing were looking for all the old water and the old time gathered there. It drank up the green matter that flowed to the top in a slow boil. Did it drink of the darkness? Did it suck out all the poisons accumulated with the years? It fed in silence with an occasional sound of inner suffocation and blind searching. It had an eye. The impersonal operator of the machine could, by wearing a special optical helmet, gaze into the soul of the person whom he was pumping out. What did the eye see? He didn't say. He saw, but didn't see what the eye saw. The entire operation wasn't unlike the digging out of a trench in one's yard. The woman on the bed was no more than a hard stratum of marble they had reached. Go on, anyway, shove the board down, slash up the emptiness, if such a thing could be brought out the throat of the suction snake. The operator stood smoking a cigarette. The other machine was working too. The other machine was operated by an equally impersonal fellow in non-stainable reddish-brown overalls. This machine pumped all of the blood from the body and replaced it with fresh blood and serum. Go to clean 'em out both days, said the operator, standing over the silent woman. No use getting the stomach if you don't clean the blood. Leave that stuff in the blood, and the blood hits the brain like a mallet bang a couple of thousand times, and the brain just gives up or just quits. Stop it, said Montague. I was just saying, said the operator. Are you done? Said Montague. They shut the machines up tight. We're done. We're done. Excuse me. His anger didn't even touch them. They stood with the cigarette smoke curling around their noses and into their eyes without making them blink or squint. That's $50. First, why don't you tell me if she will be all right? Sure, she will be okay. We got all the mean stuff right in your suitcase here, and it can't get at her now. As I said, you take out the old and put in the new, and you're okay. Neither of you is an AMD. Why didn't they send an AMD from emergency? Hell, the operator's cigarette moved on his lips. We get these cases 9 or 10 a night. Got so many starting a few years ago. We had the special machines built with the optical lens of course that was new. The rest in instant. You don't need an AMD case like this. All you need is two handymen clean up the problem in half an hour. Look, he started for the door. We gotta go. Just had another call on the old ear thimble. 10 blocks from here, someone else just jumped off the cup of a pillbox. Call if you need us again. Keep her quiet. We got a contraceptive in her. She will wake up hungry. So long. And the men with the cigarettes in their straight-lined mouths, the men with the eyes of poof, others took up their load of machine and tube, their case of liquid melancholy, and the slow dark sludge of nameless stuff and strolled out the door. Montag sank down into a chair and looked at this woman. Her eyes were closed now, gently, and he put out his hand to feel the warmness of breath on his palm. Mildred, he said at last. There are too many of us, he thought. There are billions of us, and that's too many. Nobody knows anyone. Strangers come and violate you. Strangers come and cut your heart out. Strangers come and take your blood. Good God, who were those men? I never saw them before in my life. Half an hour passed. The blood stream in this woman was new, and it seemed to have done a new thing to her. Her cheeks were very pink, and her lips were very fresh and full of color, and they looked soft and relaxed. Someone else blood there. If only someone else flesh and brain and memory, if only they could have taken her mind along to the dry cleaners and emptied the pockets and steamed and cleansed and reblocked it and brought it back in the morning. If only. He got up and put back the curtains and opened the windows wide to let the night air in. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. Was it only an hour ago? Clarice McClellan in the street and him coming in the dark room and his foot kicking the little crystal bottle. Only an hour, but the world had melted down and sprung up in a new and colorless form. Laughter blew across the moon-colored lawn from the house of Clarice and her father and the mother and the uncle who smiled so quietly and so earnestly. Above all, their laughter was relaxed and hearty and not forced in any way, coming from the house that was so brightly lit this late at night while all the other houses were kept to themselves in darkness. Montague heard The voices talking, 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 giving, talking, weaving, reweaving their hypnotic web. Montag moved out through the French windows and crossed the lawn without even thinking of it. He stood outside the talking house in the shadows, thinking that he might even tap on their door and whisper, "Let me come in. I won't say anything. I just want to listen. What was it you're saying?" But instead, he stood there, very cold, his face a mask of ice, listening to a man's voice, the uncle moving along at any easy pace. Well, after all, this is the age of the disposable tissue. Blow your nose on a person with them, flush them away, reach for another, blow wet, flush everyone, using everyone else's coattails. How are you supposed to root for the home team when you don't even have a program or know the names? For that matter, what color jerseys uh, are they wearing as they trot out onto the field? Montag moved back to his own house, left the window wide, checked Mildred, took the covers about her carefully, and then lay down with the moonlight on his cheekbones and on the frowning ridges in his brow, with the moonlight distilled in each eye to form a silver cataract there. One drop of rain, Clarice; another drop, Mildred; a third, the uncle; a fourth, the fire tonight. One Clarice, two Mildred, three uncle, four fire, one Mildred, two Clarice, one, two, three, four, five Clarice, Mildred, uncle, fire, sleeping tablets, man, disposable tissue, coattails, blow, wet, flush, Clarice, Mildred, uncle, fire, tablets, tissues, blow, wet, flush, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, rain, the storm, the uncle laughing, thunder falling downstairs, the whole world pouring down, the fire gushing up in a volcano, all rushing on down around us in a spouting roar and rivering stream toward morning. "I don't know anything anymore," he said, and let a sleep lozenge dissolve on his tongue. At 9 in the morning, Mildred's bed was empty. Montag got up quickly, his heart pumping, and ran down the hall and stopped at the kitchen door. Toast popped out of the silver toaster, was seized by a spidery metal hand that drenched it with melted butter. Mildred watched the toast delivered to her plate. She had both ears plugged with electronic bees that were humming the air away. She looked up suddenly, saw him, and nodded. "You all right?" he asked. She was an expert at lip reading from 10 years of apprentice, apprenticeship at Cheshire Timbles. She nodded again. She set the toaster clicking away at another piece of bread. Montag sat down. His wife said, "I don't know why I should be so hungry. You? I am hungry. Last night," he began. "Didn't sleep well. Feel terrible," she said. "Good. I am hungry. I can't figure it." "Last night," he said again. She watched his lips casually. "What about last night? Don't you remember? What, did we have a wild party or something?" feel like I have a hangover. God, I'm hungry. Who was there? Who was here? A few people, he said. That's what I thought. She chewed her toast. Some stomach, but I'm hungry as all get out. Hope I didn't do anything foolish at that party. No, he said quietly. The toaster spidered out a piece of butter bread for him. He held it in his hand, feeling grateful. You don't look so hot yourself, said his wife. In the late afternoon it rained, and the entire world was dark grey. He stood in the hall of his house, putting on his badge with the orange salamander burning across it. He stood looking up at the air conditioning vent in the hall for a long time. His wife in the TV parlor paused long enough from reading her script to glance up. Hey, she said, the man's singing. Yes, he said, I want to talk to you. He paused. You took all the pills in your bottle last night. Oh, I wouldn't do that, she said, surprised. The bottle was empty. I wouldn't do a thing like that. Why would I do a thing like that? She asked. Maybe you took two pills and forgot and took two more and forgot again and took two more. And were so dopey you kept right on until you had 30 or 40 of them in you. Heck, she said, what would I want to go and do a silly thing like that for? I don't know, he said. She was quite obviously waiting for him to go. I didn't do that, she said. Never in a billion years. All right, if you say so, he said. That's what the lady said. She turned back to her script. What's on this afternoon? He asked tiredly. She didn't look up from her script again. Well, this is a play comes on the wall-to-wall circuit in 10 minutes. They mailed me my party this morning. I sent in some box tops. They write the script with one part missing. It's a new idea. The homemaker that's me is the missing part. When it comes time for the missing lines, they all look at me out of the three walls, and I say the lines here. For instance, the man says, "What do you think of this whole idea, Helen?" And he looks at me, sitting here center stage, see? And I say, she paused and ran her finger under a line in the script. I think that's fine. And then they go on with the play until he says, Do you agree to that, Helen? Do you agree to that, Helen? And I say, I sure do. Isn't that fun, Guy? He stood in the hall looking at her. It's sure fun, she said. What's the play about? I just told you there are these people named Bob and Ruth and Helen. Oh, it's really fun. It will be even more fun when we can afford to have the fourth wall installed. How long you figure before we save up and get the fourth wall torn out and four wall TV put in? It's only $2,000. That's 1/3 of my yearly pay. It's only $2,000, she replied, and I should think you would consider me sometimes. If we had a fourth wall, why it would be just like this room wasn't ours at all, but all kinds of exotic people's rooms. We could do without a few things. We are already doing without a few things to pay for the third wall. It was put in only 2 months ago, remember? Is that all it was? She said, looking at him for a long moment. Well, goodbye, dear. Goodbye, he said. He stopped and turned around. Does it have a happy ending? I haven't read that far. He walked over, read the last page, nodded, folded the script, and handed it back to her. He walked out of the house into the rain. The rain was thinning away, and the girl was walking in the center of the sidewalk with her head up and a few drops falling on her face. She smiled when she saw Montag. Hello, he said hello and then said, what are you up to now? I'm still crazy. The rain feels good. I love to walk in it. I don't think I would like that, he said. You might if you tried. I never have. She licked her lips. Rain even tastes good. What do you do? Go around trying everything at once? He asked. Sometimes twice. She looked at something in her hand. What have you got there? He said. I guess it's the last of the dandelions this year. I didn't think I would find one of the lawn this late. Have you ever heard of rubbing it under your chin? Look. She touched her chin with the flower, laughing. Why? If it rubs off, it means I am in love, has it? He could hardly do anything else but look. Well, she said. Well, she said. You are yellow under there. Fine, let's try you now. You know. It won't work for me. Here, before he could move, she had put the dandelion under his chin. He drew back and she laughed. Hold still. She peered under his chin and frowned. Well, he said. What a shame, she said. You are not in love with anyone. Yes, I am. It doesn't show. I am very much in love. He tried to conjure up a face to fit the words, but there was no face. I am. Oh, please don't look that way. It's that dandelion, he said. You have used it all up on yourself. That's why it won't work for me. Of course, that must be it. Oh no, I upset you. I can see I have. I'm sorry, really I am. She touched his elbow. No, no, he said quickly. I am all right. I've got to be going to say you forgive me. So say you forgive me. I don't want you angry with me. I am not angry, upset, yes. I've got to go to see my psychiatrist now. They make me go. I made out things to say. I don't know what he thinks of me. He says I'm a regular onion. I keep him busy peeling away the layers. I am inclined to believe you need the psychiatrist, said Montag. You don't mean that. He took a breath and let it out and at last said, no, I don't mean that. The psychiatrist wants to know why I go out and hike around in the forests and watch the birds and collect butterflies. I will show you my collection someday. Good. They want to know what I do with all my time. I tell them that sometimes I just sit and think. But I won't tell them what I've got them running, and sometimes I tell them I like to put my head back like this and let the rain fall into my mouth. It tastes just like wine. Have you ever tried it? No, You have forgiven me, haven't you? Yes, he thought about it. Yes, I have. God knows why. You are peculiar, you are aggravating, yet you are easy to forgive. You say you are 17? Well, next month. How old? How strange. And my wife 30, and yet you seem so much older times. I can't get over it. Get over it. You're peculiar yourself, Mr. Montag. Sometimes I even forget you are a fireman. You're a fireman. Now may I make you angry again? Go ahead. How did it start? How did you get into it? How did you pick your work? And how did you happen to think to take the job you have? You are not like the others. I have seen a few, I know. When I talk, you look at me. When I said something about the moon, you looked at the moon last night. The others would never do that. The others would walk off and leave me talking or threaten me. No one has time any more for anyone else. You are one of the few who put up with me. That's why I think it's so strange you are a fireman. It just doesn't seem right for you, somehow. He felt his body divide itself into a hotness and a coldness, a softness and a hardness, a trembling and a not trembling, the two halves grinding one upon the other. You'd better run on to your appointment, he said, and she ran off and left him standing there in the rain. Only after a long time did he move, and then very slowly, as he walked, he tilted his head back in the rain for just a few moments, and opened his mouth. The mechanical hound slept but didn't sleep, lived but didn't live, in its gently humming, gently vibrating, softly illuminated kennel back in a dark corner of the firehouse. The dim light of 1 in the morning, the moonlight from the open sky frame through the great window touched here and there on the brass and the copper and the steel of the faintly trembling beast. Light flickered on bits of ruby glass and on sensitive capillary hairs in the nylon brushed nostrils of the creature that quivered gently its 8 legs spidered under it on rubber padded paws. Montag slid down the brass pole. He went out to look at the city, and the clouds had cleared away completely, and he lit a cigarette and came back to bend down and look at the hound. It was like a great bee come home from some field where the honey is full of poison, wildness, and of insanity and nightmare, its body crammed with that over-rich nectar, and now it was sleeping the evil out of itself. "Hello," whispered Montag, fascinated as always with the dead beast, the living beast. At night, when things got dull, which was every night, the man slid down the brass poles and set the ticking combinations of the olfactory system of the hound and let loose rats in the firehouse airway, and sometimes chickens and sometimes cats that would have to be drowned anyway, and there would be betting to see which the hound would seize first. The animals were turned loose. 3 seconds later the game was done. The red cat or chicken caught half across the airway, grip it in gently pulse while a 4-inch hollow steel needle plunged down from the proboscis of the hound to inject massive jolts of morphine or procaine. The pawn was then tossed in the incinerator. A new game began. Montag stayed upstairs most nights when this went down. There had been a time 2 years ago when he had bet with the best of them and lost a week's salary and faced Mildred insane anger which showed itself in veins and blotches. But now at night he lay in his bunk, face turned to the wall, listening to whoops of laughter below and the piano string scurry of red feet, the violent kicking of mice, and the great shadowing motioned silence of the hound leaping out like a moth in the raw light, finding, holding its victim, inserting the needle and going back to its kennel to die as if a switch had been turned. Montag touched the muzzle. So, I think I will end today my reading. Morning. I will read this book further. Okay? So, I excuse me please for my bad English. I try do it better. So I think you support me in this matter, this deal, and all will be okay. And goodbye. See you later in my videos.